Again with a frequent contributor to 12 News, Jordan Rose, an attorney here in town, and you've been saying all along that you would be surprised if she didn't get convicted of first-degree murder. No surprises today.
No surprises. A great day for Arizona, a great day for the American justice system. I mean, this really restores your faith in the jury system because justice was served. And you can contrast this with jurors in Florida and other places where you see they don't make the right decision, but these jurors didn't disregard science and every fact. They took that all into consideration. They made the right decision, and thank God for that.
We had Steve Berry from Mesa PD, a detective with them, on a little while ago, and he said he felt so good about the evidence that they handed over to Juan Martinez in the state that he would have been personally disappointed had they not come back with this verdict.
I agree with that. I mean, I was thinking there's this giant crowd here. If she would have gotten second degree or somehow, it would have been a riot. It absolutely would have been a riot. And you know what? Frankly, it should have been, because, well, of course, we sitting outside the jury room learn so much more than those jurors were allowed, because there's rules of court that doesn't allow all that evidence in that we've seen. But you still look at the facts and things that were presented to that jury, and you go, wow, what other decision could these people possibly have made? And thank goodness they made it, really. And the police department, the detectives that were involved, phenomenal. They served up a perfect case for the prosecution. Now, it took a long time to get there, right?
You think 15 hours is longer than you expected?
I meant the 4 months of the trial itself, because you go, wow, this evidence is just so
But what about the 15 hours of deliberation?
I got to tell you, I mean, every minute, of course, you go, oh, that can't be good, because clearly that means that they're not all in perfect agreement. But you also think they've been sitting there for 4 months, Mark. They have not talked to each other for 4 months. And they've got mountains of evidence to review. And so I think clearly they did their job. They were diligent about it. They didn't just come back with some, crazy, yeah, we all think she's guilty. I mean, would I have liked that to happen? And probably most of the viewing public watching and going, okay, it's been 20 more minutes. What's going on here? Sure, but that's what the system's supposed to do.
This jury, Jordan, came back unified, and they said, look, we find her guilty of first-degree murder. Now, do you think, as we enter the penalty phase of this same jury can recommend the death penalty?
That's interesting, because I would have said, if they came back tomorrow, as goofy as this may sound, I would have said, there must be some consternation there. Someone must not have necessarily been perfectly certain that first degree was what should have happened. And then I would have said, I'm a little worried about the death penalty. But because they came back in 15 hours, I gotta believe that this jury's listening to that evidence, and those mitigating factors are a bunch of baloney. They didn't buy into that domestic violence argument, and that's important. So I would predict a death penalty.
And if it isn't the death penalty, let's say it's 20 to 25 years, do you think that this mass of people that we've seen down here today will be disappointed?
I do. I think they'll be incredibly disappointed. Now, I know I've heard lots of the friends saying, we have to find it in our hearts to forgive this brutal murderer, and that's a big thing to say, right? Right after a verdict like this. And so I guess there's that necessary forgiveness that goes on. But wow, if it's not if she doesn't get the death penalty, I think we're going to have some pretty unhappy people.
Now, aside from 12 News, you also do some work for a cable network, weighing in almost every day. They're telling you, and you're hearing, that this has become bigger than other trials that have captivated this country.
Isn't that interesting? So, yeah, the national reporters with the cable network have said, we've covered for 23 so years.
Casey Anthony,
everything. And that this today was bigger than that. And you look at the ratings with all the news stations that have covered it, back-to-back coverage, and they're through the roof. This has become the new American soap opera. And that may be a sad statement for our society, but it's true.
Well, this is the real reality TV, for sure. It isn't people living on an island, and it isn't people losing weight. It's life or death, and this has really happened here today, and will happen over the next week or so as we enter the penalty phase.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's interesting because you focus on the circus atmosphere that we have here today, and you tend to set aside what's really happened and the brutality of the crime and the family and the friends that are suffering. At least this gives a little justice. But isn't it interesting that as a society we've got to watch it?
It really does, Jordan, I think, speak to the human condition that we have so many people down here, and someone walked by earlier and, gave the thumbs down as if at the Roman Colosseum wanting the gladiator to be killed, to be put to death. That did become this sort of pack mentality down here.
Right, and I mean, it's hard not to get into that sort of swing of things because you're here and these friends and family are here in the memory of Travis and they want justice, and the only way that we can give justice for someone who's been killed, and that's our American judicial system. And so that's really positive. And then it's, wow, this is a fascinating case, and it's so compelling that people around the nation, around the world, are watching, and they're watching closely, and they want to know what our jury system does. And they did the right thing in this case, but it's hard to say. You've gone from the sitcom where it was all scripted out, or the drama on television, to a reality show, and that's been the thing that's been so popular. And now is it this?
Yeah, it could well be. And Lynn Sue just a second ago was talking about, believe it or not, Lifetime rushing this movie on the Jodi Arias case to the air possibly this coming Monday, and they had to wait until today's verdict to finish shooting their movie so they could have an ending to the movie. It's astounding, and I think it really speaks to the psyche of our country, Jordan, when Lifetime is putting something like this on the air this quickly.
Immediately. Yeah. I mean, we won't even get the sentence.
Listen,
right.
I'm not going to pass judgment. All I'm saying is it definitely speaks to the psyche of our country, and Lifetime is in business to score ratings, and this is what they do.
It's questionable. Is that good or bad? I don't know. I mean, is it better that that your friends and family are watching something that's realistic, that has some educational component to it, I suppose, and some justice and learning right from wrong, as opposed to watching some TV show made up, whatever, fiction? I don't know. It's just something to think about, though, because if this kind of thing takes a hold, you got to believe it's going to repeat. I mean, we had this in OJ to some extent, 10 some years ago. Casey Anthony got a little bit more, and it was a high peak, but this is
nothing like I haven't seen anything like this.
Well, yeah, and you've been doing this for a long time.
Every gray hair tells a story, Jordan. Every gray hair.
No way. No, I don't know. I mean, but I got to believe, from a legal perspective, I mean, or lawyers, we like to see that people are watching what the law does, and I like the idea that kids are watching and going, oh yeah, no, I'm not gonna. I mean, this is an extreme case, but I'm not gonna do something stupid because, wow, America really punishes you. That's a good thing, right?
Oh, I think people listen. Right or wrong, people like crime and punishment. There's no question about it. And last question, then I want to toss it back for some more insight from Lynn Sue and in the studio with Mark Victor. But as a lawyer, you have to admire what Juan Martinez did.
Unbelievable. I mean, in that closing statement, he was so concise. I mean, this trial's gone on for 4 months, and he put that and packaged it together in a way that I think left the jurors with just the perfect things to focus on when they entered that room, which is, I think, why we only saw a deliberation of a pretty short amount of time, 15 hours. Juan Martinez is a hero. He really is, and it's cool to have that sort of hero out there for young kids who might go practice law, for the American public that wants to make sure that we're protected and safe. Those detectives, Detective Flores on the stand, Juan Martinez, really just wonderful, wonderful service.
Depending on how you look at this, maybe the good guys won this time.
The good guys won.
Yeah.
You're right. The good guys won.
All right. Jordan Rose, an attorney here in town with us. Lynn Sue, we'll toss it back to you, and we'll back out here with a crime writer who is writing a book on this in just a couple of minutes.
All right. Thanks, guys. Well, no question, America is fascinated by crime, and when it's real-life crime, this very well could be what Jordan said, the new American soap opera.
We'll talk to Lori Roberts.